everybody. Welcome to the Cannabis Creators podcast. I am your host, HereheGrows. And for the first time without the mask. I feel a bit exposed right now, a little bit naked without the mask. I've donned this mask for the better portion of the last 4 years. It was a big debate for me whether or not to get rid of it, to get rid of the persona behind it. And the conclusion I came to was my goal here is to help bring cannabis out of the shadows, help remove the stigmas, help teach everybody about the benefits and what it has to offer. And I feel like I couldn't do that while wearing or hiding behind a mask. And when I started wearing this, I was in a totally different place. To say cannabis gave me a new life is not an understatement. So I've also determined that I'm no longer the person I was when I started wearing this. So we're ushering in a new era. We're beginning a new journey. And just like we did when I started this, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm excited. I'm excited to bring you all along for it. I'm excited to stop living two separate lives and just chase this dream we have going over here full on, head on. And this is the beginning. So I'm excited, I'm ready. But what I am not too good at is talking about myself. So I guess I'm just gonna give you all the backstory about how all this came to be. I say we just go ahead and get one sparked up, and before we get into this, help us get in the rhythm of this story a little bit. But this all began, I'd say, about 5 years ago. I was in a tough spot in my life. I just got through a bad breakup, recovering from a gambling addiction, broke, depressed, and not really having any direction. And that's when I began using cannabis again. And I say again because for the previous 5.5, almost 6 years before that, I had stopped due to my employer. I became a technician for SoCal Gas Company, and they random drug tests. So we gave it up, but funny enough, they have a policy where after 5 years of service, if you test dirty, you basically have to go through this big old program, but you don't lose your job. So I felt safe enough. My job was the only thing I had, so I couldn't lose that. But with that behind me, I felt safe enough, and that's when I began smoking again. And I guess you can say that is where this all began. I was consuming and just working my job like normal, and one day it happened. The drug test came. And I was prepared. I was prepared for this moment. I had a couple buddies who usually got to work before me, and they were kind of my lookouts. I had never had to use them before, though. But this fateful morning, I guess you could say, I remember it clear as day. There's about 10 minutes before I start my shift, and every day I come in street clothes, go in, change into my uniform, and come back out and we start our day. And on my way in, my buddy taps me and he looks at me and he goes, "Hey bro, they're here." He was like, "They wouldn't let me look at the list, so I don't know if you're on it, but he's here." Meaning the random drug test, the random drug test guy. So, you know how they say you have a fight or flight instinct? That hit immediately. Two thoughts raced through my mind. The first one was, fuck. Too many people have seen my face for me to go run, hop back in my car, pull out of the parking lot and say I didn't feel well and I wasn't coming in today. But on the flip side, like I said, I was prepared for this moment. So the fight kicked in. I had one of those, those fake urine kits that they sell. And this had been used by a cousin of mine before, this brand. So I was semi-confident in it. It was always in an emergency plan though. And it was emergency time. So it was a pretty cool kit. It came with this elastic waistband that you strap around your stomach, and it had this little pouch with the solution in it, and it had this tube that came down with a clip, and all you did was unclip the tube, and it poured out, and then you clipped it back, and you were done. Supposedly it had enough for 2 tests, but I only needed it for this one. It also came with this hand warmer and this heating strip on top so you can tell the temperature. Unfortunately for that, I had remembered from a previous test a couple years back that they made me lift my shirt. And so what I had done is I had cut the elastic band so that it would fit around my thigh. And that's what I did. I grabbed that out of my bag, grabbed my uniform out of my locker, went into a stall, got it all set up. And for our test, we have 2 hours to administer the test. And so I sat there for the whole 2 hours. I had it tucked up, all up in the side of my thigh, tucked up into there, trying to make sure it was warm because I couldn't look. I mean, how do you discreetly, look in your pants to check a temperature strip? So I wait for about 10 minutes to go, and I walk into the bathroom to administer the test. And so, like normal, lift up your shirt, checks, verifies my name and my badge, and then I go and I do the test. And so I'm inside the stall, and he's right outside. He's not really, they're not too strict, so he's not in there like peeking. He's just kind of minding his business. And so I pull out the tubing, and I cough, and I unclip it, and I let it fill the cup, clip it back, tuck it in, and handle my business. And I walk out and hand him the sample. And so he takes it, he pours it into his little test cup or whatnot, closes it up, and we're working on and he looks at it, and he goes, for a couple seconds, he goes, And I go, what's And he goes, oh, it's just not warm enough. And when I tell you, my heart sank. I felt like I lost all color in my face. Everything but the cold sweat started to happen. And I look at him, I go, what does that mean? He's like, oh, we'll give it a few seconds. And so we fill out the paperwork, I sign, blah, blah, blah. And he picks it back up. And I swear, as he's looking at it, this was the longest moment of my life. And he goes, oh, we're good. Sets it down, and I am out. I have never ran out of our location so quick, got in my work truck and got out. And that was the day that I decided I didn't want to play this game anymore. So the company I had worked for, it was a big company, but there was only about 3 positions that didn't random drug test. And that meant a pretty significant pay cut for myself. And as I said, I had a gambling addiction I was recovering from. I was broke, down on my luck, and there was no way I could afford this pay cut and still smoke and still consume. And that's when I looked into growing. That moment, I started looking for these jobs. I figured out the pay cut and the budget that would happen. And I worked all the overtime I could for about the next 2 or 3 months and bought all the equipment I thought I would need. And then, and that's when I took that job and no longer had to worry about being drug tested, but also had to worry about how to acquire my meds and also, grow it and get everything going. And so that's when the grow began. And that was about 4.5 years ago now. And I got my first setup, and like I said, I took that pay cut, and it was about after my first run in that setup that I realized I didn't do enough research, and I needed to upgrade just about everything I had purchased. I had gotten swindled by the advertisements telling you this many watts and that, and I was starting to learn more and pick up on social media. And that's when I had started to see people getting free equipment and free things for having a social media following. And because I had some extra time, I was only running my little 4x4 tent, I decided, hey, let me get a crack at that and let's see if I can get my hands on some new equipment while still being broke. So that's where the whole HereheGrows journey began, I guess you could say. Other than before that, I was just kind of like putting up pictures here and there and, you know, trying to get familiar and get into the community. I was a newbie grower. I wasn't but 6 months into it when I started really getting into social media. I didn't have any value to offer. I was still learning. So what I would do was just, as I learned, I would post. As I messed up, I would post. And that's when everything on Instagram started picking up some momentum for me. Found some other grower friends and just found how great the community was. And then from there, Instagram was still, you still had that natural reach where you could still pick up a following. And pretty quickly, I'd say over the next 6 months to a year, I had gained about 15,000 followers and had started getting some free equipment and things were rolling. But that's when everything on Instagram had come to a halt. They really cracked down on the cannabis community. And so I felt like I needed to switch up my content, maybe hop on YouTube and try some other things. But in order to do all that, you had to be in front of the camera. And so that's when the mask came into play. I had seen it in some celebrity news somewhere, and I thought it looked hilarious. And I figured, you know what? That'll cover my whole face, and I think we can get away with that. And so I purchased it, and I guess you can say that's when the journey really began. I started getting in front of the camera here and there. Still wasn't super comfortable, even though I was wearing a mask. And so, the mask, it was more than just to hide my face. It was to help me build back that confidence from the place I was coming from. You know, like I said, cannabis really gave me a new life, gave me a new energy. But my confidence still had to be rebuilt. I was in a new thing. And so that mask represented a lot for me. And that's when everything came to be. We started hopping on TikTok. That had blown up. And it was through TikTok that this all really came to be. To be honest, the last 2 years have been almost like a blur since I moved back to the Inland Empire and built the grow room and continued with the content and pushed the content. All that's really just a blur to me. The last 6 months has been the stretch that has created all this. Like I said, I had the momentum on TikTok, and that's where TRICHOMES came into play. I had originally gotten an offer to kind of promote the app, and at that time, a few other apps were popping up, and I didn't really take the offer seriously until they invited me down. Came down to the warehouse, got to talk with the owner. We discussed the things that they had going on here and the vision that they had for this place. And I was sold. I honestly went home and thought about how I almost didn't take the opportunity. I took the phone call and almost didn't come down here. And that was really the turning point. These last 6 months have been the most difficult and trying months of this whole journey, pushing to make this happen. That's when I got the offer. He asked me what it was going to take for me to leave my job and come over here and be a part of the things that they were doing over here. And we discussed, and we came to some terms. And I told him I needed 6 months to get my affairs in order to do this right. And so we fought, we scratched, we clawed, and now the time has come. I know that the journey is just beginning. The hard work is just beginning. I don't expect things to slow down. I don't expect things to get easier, but you know, I get to do what I love. I get to be a part of something bigger than just a company where I was just another number. I get to do something I love. And I truly believe in the things we got going over here. We got the app, we have our website, but we have a build out going on. This warehouse right now is empty. You can probably hear some echoes and some things going on. This is the raw start. This is the beginning, the bare bones. And I'm excited to build. And just like with the online community I've built and not built, that I've been able to be a part of. And you all have helped me learn and become a better grower. And just like with this, I'm hoping that we all learn and grow together and we can be part of something, you know, that not only I can be proud of, that we can all be proud of, and that the community can be proud of. We're pushing the agenda of cannabis and the positivity and erasing those stigmas. And this is the start. And so I thank you all for rocking with me. I thank you all for being a part of my start. I know this podcast is new. My hosting abilities, my abilities in front of the camera still need to grow. But I'm excited because I know, just like with being a grower and brand new into that, the community helped lift me up. And in turn, that's why I am so active on social media, answering questions, putting out the information that I get, is because together we can all push this forward. We can all make cannabis what it should have been all along, an everyday term, it's normalized, parts of people's everyday lives. And that's what we're doing. And I'm excited to get started. I'm excited for y'all to be a part of it. And again, I just want to thank you all. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, like, comment, share. We got a lot more on the way, from tutorials, rolling tutorials, dab tutorials. We're going to do some vlog type content. We're going to show you all around the facility and what we got going on here. So a lot of exciting stuff. So stay tuned. Much love, y'all.